Hello, my name is Dawn Martin, for those of you that don't know me. For those of you that do know me, I'm known as Dawn of Savannah's Dead, where we leave the curious and the brave through the haunted streets of Savannah, Georgia. Today we're actually standing next to the famous Foley House Inn, a sacred site. It was actually one of the first boarding bed and breakfast, also known as boarding homes back in the early days. But this land was sacred ground. It's actually the settler of the graves for the Jewish congregation that was founded here in 1733. But the site has seen many tragedies. The original home built on this site was destroyed by the Great Savannah Fire of 1889. Then years later, a widowed, well-to-do immigrant by the name of Honoria Foley decides to build a large house on this site to care for herself and her 5 grandchildren that she was now raising after the death of her daughter, Catherine. Honoria, to raise extra money, actually rented rooms to travelers of our port city. It was said in the late 1890s, a traveling salesman making his way through the city was looking for a room to rent. Honoria, always respectful and trusting, would always get applications and check references with any that she let strangers in her home. This particular traveling salesman approaches Honoria to rent a room, taken with his looks, his charm, and his gracious style, goes against her policy and doesn't check references for this particular guest. Soon, Honoria, after renting the room, finds herself on the end of unwanted attention, we believe of a sexual nature. It was a few nights later that Honoria, sleeping in the upstairs bedroom, awakens to a dark, shadowy presence hovering over her bed. The intruder begins to strangle her, and in her paralyzed fear, she's unable to scream, picks up a candlestick next to the bed and begins to beat the man over the head. As soon as she's free from his paralyzing grip, she runs out of the room, only to return to find him dead on the floor. Believing that no one will think it's an act of self-defense, she confides in a carpenter and brick mason who was best friends with her late husband, Owen Foley, and together they were to conceal the body in the wall of the home. For years, Honoria lived in the house knowing that there was a dead body enclosed in the walls. Locals never even questioned the disappearance of the man, as he was just a traveling salesman through our port city. It wasn't until her deathbed in 1914 that Honoria repeats the horrible events of that night. So we move forward to the renovations of the Foley House between 1987 and 1989, where skeletal remains were found in the wall of the Foley House. Although the remains had never been identified, guests started to tell of their eerie experiences. They would often tell of seeing a man very tall with a dark suit and a black top hat appearing in the gardens. The staff referred to him as Wally. They'd also claimed to feel cold breezes brushing by them, or the sound of children crying, or even the sounds of children laughing as they're running through the hallway. It wasn't until years later, although the bones never identified, that the house began to take a more sinister plot. As we move forward through the years, the guests continue to tell of their strange stories. It's not that version of some see-through television body or historic Hollywood version of some see-through ghostly apparition. It can be subtle instances of these cold breezes or heavy footsteps, even if you know that you're alone in the house. If this story has piqued your interest, and you're interested in finding out more about the Foley House, we invite you to come and book a night or two and check out for yourself the eerie experiences of the visitors and guests of the Foley Inn. But we're not done then. Here in Chippewa Square, there are other great stories of the haunts of Savannah. In Chippewa Square, we actually have the Savannah Theater, the oldest continuous operating theater in all of the country, where the managers tell of movies playing all on their own, the sound of chairs and laughter in the balconies. And even in the center of Chippewa Square, the statue of our founder, General James Oglethorpe, facing his enemy of the South, the Spanish. So if these stories have piqued your interest, we invite you to come and hear more about the stories and the buried cemeteries all throughout our city. So for those that are brave or curious enough, we invite you to come here to Savannah and see the many haunted stories. If you're interested and we piqued your interest, we invite you to take our America's Most Haunted City tour, or Bonaventure Cemetery, or Sixth Sense World. Please visit us at sixthsenseworld.com and make a reservation, and come and hear the eerie events that take place in America's most haunted city. For now, I'm Dawn of Savannah's Dead, signing off here from America's most haunted city. Please, we'd love to share the ghostly stories of the past.